I've honestly been struggling to determine my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Valhalla after having played a little over 3 hours of the game about a week ago. In its simplest form, Valhalla is very much akin to the two Assassin's Creed installments that have come before it, Origins and Odyssey. As such, this format for Assassin's Creed has started to feel a bit less fresh than it did before, which, while not a bad thing, means it's getting harder to determine what the biggest difference is that Valhalla will bring to the table this time around. Based on my own playtime, Ubisoft is definitely taking elements of what Odyssey and Origins introduced and is simply refining on them here with Valhalla. While I'm still uncertain of what the final result will be like, this brief demo did at least get me more intimately familiar with some of the core mechanical differences that are being implemented with this Viking adventure. Far and away, the biggest updates to Valhalla this time around seem to be happening in regards to combat. Despite having the same general structure, with the special abilities from Odyssey making a return, the biggest advent to Valhalla is a stamina meter. That's right, Assassin's Creed is seeing another injection of mechanics that were largely popularized in the Souls series. And while this move might sound like a trite one at first, it actually makes combat encounters vastly more engaging. Being limited in how often you can hack and swing your axe about, in addition to having to be more cognizant of when you can dodge roll to safety, changes things dramatically. While I wouldn't say that Valhalla is on the same level of something like Dark Souls in terms of difficulty, however, basic combat encounters do bring a challenge to the game that I wasn't expecting. There were certain portions of my own demo that kicked my butt repeatedly and took me multiple attempts to finally clear. The Souls-like popularized mechanics don't necessarily end there, however. Valhalla also brings in a health system that relies on regeneration in a similar format compared to what Estus flasks provide in Dark Souls. Essentially, Ivor can heal himself at any point in the game, but only if he has enough uses of his healing item, which is just called food, on him. Food can then be recharged by collecting certain materials around the game's world, such as veggies, herbs, or berries. It's a straightforward system, but one that you definitely need to keep an eye on. If you're low on food, you may want to avoid taking on that certain boss fight that you found out in the wild. Being a bit more limited in how you can approach direct combat due to the stamina meter forces you to try to utilize stealth a bit more in Assassin's Creed Valhalla as a result. One of the prominent concerns of the Assassin's Creed series in recent years has been that the stealth roots of the franchise have all but been abandoned at this point, mainly due to the fact that you can't even one-shot some enemies in previous games when getting the drop on them. Well, the Hidden Blade is back in Valhalla, and it's definitely more effective compared to what we saw in Odyssey. I'm not sure if every enemy in Valhalla can be one-hit killed with the blade, but every grunt level enemy that I found in my demo died consistently right away. All in all, if you wanted stealth to be more central this time around, it seems like Ubisoft has heard your concerns. As for what you'll be spending your hours doing in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there seems to be a fair amount of variety. This game is unsurprisingly gargantuan, although I do not think it looks to be as big as Odyssey by any means. Valhalla's map of England is cut into distinct sections, each of which contains a number of treasures to find, secrets to uncover, and events to partake in. In around the 2 hours or so of my own time with Valhalla, in which I was able to actively run around the world, I took on a legendary beast, led a raid on a local outpost, and beat down a Norse godlike being of some sort. I also at one point stumbled across an Animus point of interest, at which point Layla, the real-world protagonist who has appeared in Origins and Odyssey, became my playable character and I navigated through some sort of parkour maze. Despite the fact that I haven't really been engrossed in Layla's arc in the previous two games, I'm curious to see how she slots in here with Valhalla, especially after how her story wrapped up in Odyssey. On the story and characters front, there's honestly not a lot I can definitively say about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, judging by what I've seen so far. My demo took place at a somewhat random point in the middle of the game where Ivor, the main protagonist this time around, finds himself or herself and their companions primarily looking to rescue a friend from enemy clutches. Ivor specifically I'm still unsure of as a character thus far, as he seems a bit more buttoned up compared to recent protagonists like Bayek, Alexios, and Cassandra. There were definitely moments of levity in my preview, especially during a few sequences that transpired at a wedding, but my early impressions indicate that Ivor lacks the charisma that Assassin's Creed has had in spades in recent years. I also unfortunately didn't get to play around too much with the RPG systems, of which there do seem to have been some pretty major adjustments. The way that you utilize skill points this time around sees them sliding into a wide-ranging tree that upgrades Ivor in 3 distinct areas. These avenues that you choose to upgrade then seem to feed back into Ivor's overall power level, which is kind of intriguing. Sadly, the demo I played pretty much had Ivor locked in at a specific build, so I really couldn't tinker around to see how upgrading any of these distinct areas could benefit you in a certain manner. In short, if you have at all enjoyed the new direction of Assassin's Creed since Origins released and essentially rebooted the series back in 2017, then you're almost certainly going to dig what is happening here with Valhalla. Even though I wish my own time with the game would have allowed me to more thoroughly see all of the new aspects of the game, especially those dang Viking rat battles I've heard so much about, Valhalla remains one of my most anticipated titles for the remainder of the year, and my hopes for it are high. For everything else related to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, be sure to subscribe here to DualShockers on YouTube and check us out over at DualShockers.com.